President Trump signing his Gaza peace accord in Egypt yesterday, gathering more than 30 global leaders and ushering in the end of the Israel-Hamas war as the remaining living hostages were released. The president also addressed Israel's parliament yesterday as the living hostages reunited with their families. Negotiators are expected to immediately begin work on phase 2 of the plan, and that would include the disarming of Hamas and the return of the remaining deceased hostages. Only 4 of the 28 deceased have been brought home. Joining me now is U.S. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum. Secretary, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. So much to discuss with this government shutdown, but first, your reaction to President Trump's work this week on that peace accord.
Well, Maria, just incredible what President Trump has accomplished. It's a masterclass in peace through strength. What he did earlier this year, his willingness to use military power, his willingness to deploy economic power through the use of tariffs, but also his understanding of energy diplomacy. President Trump, many presidents that preceded him would never have had the ability to put a strike against Iran because of our dependence on Mideast supplies for oil. But when President Trump, was asking the question, what's going to happen to the price of oil if we go after Iran's nuclear program, the answer was nothing, because the U.S. was not dependent on that, so on any of that energy coming from that area. So the energy abundance, the energy dominant strategy that President Trump is pursuing is giving him degrees of freedom that presidents haven't had in the past, and that's why you're seeing this incredible peace agreement and seeing peace break out all over the Middle East, is because he understands how to use these levers of power.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all very methodical. I mean, the president's policies on energy, of course, were communicated very clearly from this administration from day one. But the president gave Iran warning after warning, and then going in there and affecting their nuclear infrastructure certainly was the beginning of this. And of course, let's mention also the president's first international trip to the Middle East, as he garnered friendships and strengthened relations across the Middle East, leading him to this point. So it was all very methodical and impressive. But of course, the Democrats want to be heard in all of this, so they're shutting the government down. This shutdown is now entering a third week, and sources told me over the weekend that the Democrats have agreed with the organizers of the No Kings rally to keep the government closed until after the rally this coming Saturday in Washington. I guess it'll be a mess of protesters. You posted it on X. The Interior Department has prioritized funds to ensure that oil and gas operations are not impacted by the Schumer shutdown. But congressional Democrats are on the clock. More delays could eventually impact gas prices and utility bills. Oil prices this morning are hanging out right around their closed yesterday. But look at where we are, dropping below $60 a barrel now, crude at $58.23. That is impressive, Secretary. But give us a sense of how this shutdown is impacting the Interior Agency.
Well, again, I mean, the contrast here, Maria, is just unbelievable. President Trump releasing hostages through his incredible work, relationships, diplomacy, and use of power. And then here, the Democrats, so President Trump's playing large on the world stage and winning. The Democrats are playing the smallest ball possible, and they're losing, and they're holding the American economy hostage. When you shut down the government, it hurts all aspects, whether it's permitting, whether it's people's vacations, whether it's the revenues that go into entrance communities of national parks. I mean, there's an economic hit when you stop all this activity, not to mention that you've got the loss of productivity, because we've got millions of federal workers at home doing nothing, and then Congress will say, oh, well, we need to pay them for the time that they were furloughed. And so, again, the economic loss that's being inflicted on America by the Democrats is a big, big number. And so, of course, we're doing everything we can here at Interior to keep operations going, keeping permitting going, keeping parks open, doing all that. But it's an enormous amount of wasted work. And every American should understand that there's really nothing but politics at play here by the Democrats. If they want to change health care policy in America, they should get back to work, get the government back, introduce a bill, and see if they can pass it.
How significant are the job cuts that you're expecting in the Interior Department?
Well, I think one of the things that people maybe may or may not understand is when the government shuts down, we're not allowed to use appropriated funds. So any team members that we have today, like keeping parks open, we're stealing money, not stealing, but we're legally can use money from recreation fees or entrance fees to try to cover the cost. But eventually those extra kitties of cash run out, and then you're at a point where you have to start doing the layoffs at that point, because of course when you're also we're not allowed to have someone collecting revenue. So not only are we're expending cost, we're foregoing revenue. Who does that to their own business? I mean, no business would say, I'm shutting down my business. Who knows when we'll be back? The damage that would do to your customer. Any of your private sector viewers that are watching have to look at the government and say, this is just crazy. Yeah. Because, I mean, whether you're a small retailer or a big multinational, you would never shut down and tell your customers, we can't take your revenue and we can't provide services.
Well, of course, the longer it goes on, the bigger an impact it will have on the economy. I mean, already we are not getting any economic data. We're in a vacuum in terms of what's going on. That's why this earnings season is so important to hear from CEOs, but also deals. I mean, September was a huge month for M&A. You may have just heard from my last guest. IPOs have started to come out again and generate lots of capital for Wall Street and investors, but look, if you have a deal to do, if you've got an IPO, a company to take public, you can't even do the filing right now because the Securities and Exchange Commission is closed. So at some point, markets will notice, and then you have a spiraling effect of it, right? So far, markets have not noticed this, have not really gotten impacted. But the longer this goes on, I suspect markets will start selling off significantly as a result.
Well, yes, and maybe Schumer and the Democrats haven't noticed, but China isn't taking the month off. They have not shut down their government. We're in an AI arms race. You've had a number of folks on today, as you should, because one of the biggest things in the market is this incredible amount of spending that's going on CapEx for us to help win the AI arms race with China. We need to have that private sector spending, investing in power generation, in chips, and in AI factories. All of that has to happen. All of that, again, we're fighting everything we can do with the people that we're working through the National Energy Dominance Council to keep permitting going, to keep these deals going, to keep that spending going. We have to. But again, it's like the Democrats are hurting us on the world stage, and they're hurting us at home economically with this shutdown.
And I'm wondering if China has chosen this particular moment in time to tighten the screws on America for rare earth minerals as well. I mean, there's no coincidence President Trump is on the global stage getting all of this praise because of his efforts for peace in the Middle East. And China comes out and says it's going to tighten restrictions on export. But now the U.S. and China are rolling out fees on ports. You've got these port fees on each other this morning, charging additional fees on shipping vessels carrying all sorts of cargo, everything from crude oil to children's toys ahead of the busy holiday season. President Trump is on track to meet with Xi Jinping in South Korea as the administration works to de-escalate this trade tension. I got all the details yesterday from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Here's what he said. Watch.
This is China versus the rest of the world. They announced these export controls that are going to go into effect next month, and we have aggressively pushed back against them. This was a provocative move. We have substantially de-escalated. President Trump said that the tariffs would not go into effect until November 1st. The 100% tariff does not have to happen. Lines of communication have reopened, so we'll see where it goes. A group of bureaucrats in China cannot tell us and our allies how to run our supply system. We don't want to have to flex and show the Chinese that we, as President Trump says, we do have more cards, whether it's on software, whether it's on minerals, whether it's on financial services.
Your thoughts, Secretary?
Well, I agree completely. We do have more cards. But the thing that is so disingenuous, the Chinese, who I know from my private sector experience, they've stolen every piece of IP I was involved with in the software industry from 1989 forward. But when they call it export controls, If they were implemented, this is the largest intelligence gathering effort ever put on the world economy. I mean, when you read into the details of those export controls, it's like, send us a picture of your assembly line. Tell us if it's for commercial or defense. Tell us exactly what product these rare earth minerals are going into and what quantities and what your demand is going to be going forward. I mean, it would basically give them information that no analyst on Wall Street would ever have, and all under the idea of export controls. And so this is something, and it's not just against the U.S., it's against the whole world.
Yeah.
And so China may have bitten off more than they can chew on this one. The U.S. has got a lot of cards, and President Trump, I always have my money on him when it goes into negotiation.
Yeah, especially since they are negotiating in an environment where their economy is a lot weaker than people understand. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told us that yesterday, and President Trump was interesting in his post the other day. He said, look, Xi Jinping does not want a depression. But yes, that's certainly where things could go if this fighting keeps up. Secretary, we'll be watching your work, certainly. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Maria.
All right, Interior Secretary Doug Burgum. We'll be right back.